Okay, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Mix it up a little bit. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Shauna Lee here. So this is gonna be the official first session. I had a list here. I'm out in the boonies. I'm gonna watch the sunset today. It's Sunday afternoon, so it'll be a little bit behind when I actually get it on and edited. And I was going to tell you too, whenever you hear like a discrepancy in the, like if I have background music, it's usually to edit out a cough or a sniffle or something that's just inappropriate. It's not, I'm trying not to edit out too much content, but more like, coughs and I always cough during and sniffle and all that stuff. So, just to let you know that. Okay. So here we go. Adventures, mystic adventures type thing. So the first topic I wanted to bring up, I thought, well, we might as well just get the bad stuff done with right away, was fear. That's the first topic I want to bring up. So there's a few things I want to get through today. We'll see how it goes. So fear, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? And how do we trudge through it? And the more I evolve, the more I realize that it's really just the devil. That's what fear is the devil trying to take you off course, because he just puts up all them blocks, and if we push through our fear, it's usually to get to what we want. Right? We're fearful of getting what we want, this kind of thing. So the more that I evolve, the more that the fear, I don't know if it dissipates, but there's certain areas where I have no fear, and there's certain areas where I have an irrational fear of things. And I think, everybody to a certain degree fluctuates with that. I don't know anybody that how would you say, like, even if you had a great balance of no fear, like meaning appropriate fear, but I don't know if it's an intelligence or an instinct to push through that, there would be no, like, you would be unlimited, really, without fear. So I don't know. I mean, I can psychoanalyze it 360 and get, great results there. But in reality, it's still there. And it still rears its head, and it still has a certain amount of power over you in certain scenarios. And then, you may release it in others. But yeah, I see, in my mind, the devil is fear. Fear is the devil, period. It's just that negative energy trying to take you away from all it is that you want. Because it's all, like there was a saying, what was that saying? Why can't I get anything straight? I can't remember nothing for no money when I'm in this mode. But, everything you want is behind fear. I think that was Jack Canfield, the chicken soup dude. He's awesome energy, by the way. This guy's cool. I read I'm not much for short story. You would think I would be, the way I jump trains of thought, but I'm not one for short, and they're great stories. I remember, they're kind of, I don't know, somebody had it in their bathroom. I was reading it. Too much info there. But anyway, yeah, like chicken soup is good for everything. And it's inspirational. Right? And that's the thing. And it's little anecdotes that motivate you to go beyond that fear, right? Because he was the first one I heard that quote from was, everything you want is behind that layer of fear, and you just have to kind of eliminate that. And it was funny because I'm, music, right? I turn the music up as I'm traveling to my destination here in the soccer field. And, and was it Pink's new song came out, Trustfall, and I was like, yeah, trust's another thing that rears its head when you're having to do with fear and whatnot, right? Because for me, fear, trust, where do we go first? Well, we talked a little bit about fear. Let's go into the trust area. I have a hard time trusting people. One, because I think I've been let down, and I've again, psychoanalyzed everything to death here that I'm talking about. But certain points in my life have been let down quite highly by people. And I don't know if it's they let me down or I had too high expectations. I'm starting to think it's just me having too high of an expectation of people. It's that, sometimes that positive insight or the wanting to see the best in people when they just don't generate it for themselves. You see, it's almost like you see the highest potential they can get, but if they don't want to get it, it don't come forth. This kind of thing. It's like you see that in people, like I do anyway. I see the highest potential this person. I don't know if it's they could get or whatever. You meet someone and you get adrift. I either like or don't like, and I'm going to spend my time with this person or I'm not. This kind of thing. And once you kind of break on through and you decide to spend time with a person, I don't know, yeah, there's just a part of me that puts people on pedestals, I guess. This is another thing that's kind of rearing its head. I don't know if I want to latch on to that identity in my zone right now. I do understand that people are nobody's perfect. I understand this. I think what's most highly visible to me at this time is the congruency of character. Like if you have someone saying something, speaking another, and then feeling something in their instinct, this is what I sense from people. And don't get me wrong, we're not on all the time as people who are instinctive and empathic. We're not on all the time. We're just, we get whiffs every now and again, and sometimes when we want it, and sometimes when we don't, and sometimes not when we want it. Sometimes it's not there. It kind of blurs, and it's like, geez, why didn't I pick up on that? Well, it's because you're shut off, and you're protecting the self. You're self regulating, or what would you say? Holding your energy back, right? We're not always open scanning everything for every telepathic whatever, right? And that's one of the things I actually can feel from people right off the bat, is if you have someone and usually they're kind of the ones that are on the skeptical side, they'll come in with a big believer, right? You have a big believer, and then there's somebody that's like, oh, they're dragging me, like the boyfriend or the sister or the brother that just doesn't believe in any of this stuff. To a degree, right? But they're coming, whatever. You want your appointment? Yeah, I'll take you to your appointment, whatever, right? So then away they go. And you get that feeling like they just don't want to hang around because they don't want you picking their brain. They don't want you digging in their stuff and figuring out that they may not be such a great, wonderful person. So they get jittery. They kind of, pace in one spot. And, are you done here? Do I have to stay or can I go? I'll go for coffee. I'll come back when you do. Yeah, I'll text you. Okay. One of those. And so, again, tangents. But the thing is, we're not on all the time, and that's the greatest, I think. For me, I kind of chuckle, and I don't even get into it, because it's like sometimes it's better for them to just do whatever they're going to do with that information, rather than me explain, we're not on all the time, we don't have to. I don't even go there. I figure, 5 minutes after they're gone, they don't even think about it anymore. So my point being, that was the greatest disillusion, I think, with people that would come in that wouldn't be the client. They'd be the friend of the client, or, someone that brought them there, or, someone who, whatever, a skeptic. And they would come in, and it's not like I don't like them. You kind of go, here you go. You can really sense them because they just have a feel like that. There's just kind of a heavy feel to that. And I respect them for having a belief system, period. Knowing what they want to believe and what they don't, that's fine. I kind of chuckle sometimes because I can I can freak people out quite easily when they're on that level. And it's not like I'm meaning to, right? Because, okay, say it's the boyfriend. The girlfriend comes in, she wants a reading. So he's standing there going like, oh, rolling his eyes like she's wasting her money, but whatever, we'll see. See what this person says, right? That's usually what it is. It's curiosity. Brings them in. And then sometimes they'll sit there and they'll just have this funny smirk on their face and they won't say a bloody word. But you can feel when something hits emotionally, or, you'll see a flicker in their eye, or, you can, as an intuitive, you sense those things. If if you happen to look away or whatever. A lot of times if I'm dealing with a client, there's someone there, and especially if they're skeptical, I kind of tune out. I focus on the client because that's the one that's paying. That's where my energy goes. So nonetheless, so you give the reading, and usually somebody's coming in to find out something. And when they sit down in front of me, I open it up like, if we're doing a tarot reading, let's say we'll start with a tarot reading. Then I'll say, okay, I do a 10 card, I explain, have you ever had a reading before? And they go, yay or nay. And then I say, okay, if you have, then you know what it's all about. And then I'll say, do you just want to generally see what pops up, or do you have any specific things on your mind? And I said, I like to usually start off and do the reading, and then we can get into the details. And I said, most of the time, what you're coming in here for will pop up. And they'll go, oh, okay, or whatever. And sometimes they can't resist spilling the beans. And then sometimes they can, and they just shut right up, which is good, because then I have no preconceived ideas I have to jump over or through or whatever. So I just go cold, which is, it's kind of stressful, but at the same time, I enjoy it because, again, then you don't fight anything that comes in. You just shoot out everything that comes in because you got no limitations, right? This is how I roll. So then you give them the reading. And of course, if you have the boyfriend or whatever sitting by there, not saying anything, and if I'm not, and I don't focus, like I said, who's paying, that's who I focus on, and that's where I dedicate my energy. It's only if it's an extreme emotion or an extreme reaction, or, like a verbal, like if they really come out and say, oh my God, or something like that. Or do you remember, blah, blah, blah. Like sometimes they'll just remind the person, like the person will be going, no, I don't. And then they'll go like, oh, do you remember that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe you could apply that, right? So they'll prompt them. And then like, okay, they're, whatever. So you'll go through the reading and you give, and usually my guides are pretty good. If they send someone in, if they instinctively guide someone to me, they will give them the full meal deal. Like we'll get, usually, if, the client comes in, you sit down, you peel out all the cards, whatever. Usually I'll do the 10 card, or is it 12, whatever. The Celtic cross, I'll usually do that spread. And it just really, it really just drops the bomb of where you're at right now. And it gives the opportunity for my guides, your guides, my guides translate through your guides. The moment you come in my office, there's an agreement from the guides. Okay, we're going to get a reading here. So we agree to fork over information to advance this soul forward. And that's really what it's about. No matter if you're coming in, you want to, a lot of what I used to get, which is why I kind of got out of the field I kept taking breaks for a long time, because we were getting boyfriends checking on girlfriends, girlfriends checking on boyfriends, blah, blah, blah. Like, and it was driving me nuts, because I'm not your psychic spy, this is not me. To a certain degree, I would get what I would get through, the guides, whatever they would allow. And a lot of it, I think, is mostly what people know instinctively anyway. They just needed the validation, right? They go, well, I think my boyfriend's cheating on me. Well, okay. And then they'll go, tell them that their instinct is correct or whatever it is, whatever guidance you get. And then they'll go, well, I was thinking, but I wasn't sure. And I said, well, are you ever sure? Do they ever come knocking on your door at 2 a.m. and saying, I'm slipping out right now and I'm going to go hit up the chick down the road? They don't. They're going to hide it. So we got to keep that in mind. And I know I'm probably the worst bugger for that. mind manipulation. You want to believe them, right? Because you're with them, whatever. So they're not going to say it. So again, and women, we set that aside so often. It gets abused. And men, you can have men in feminine energy, women in masculine energy. So all this stuff just flips back and forth. And I used to have problems with the masculine feminine thing. I'm trying to balance that out, trying to be, more. I realize if I truly do want a partner for the end of my life here, which I'm kind of still in question about, I don't know. But getting ready for one. You go ahead, you stun me with one, and we'll see. If you can raise my eyebrows a little bit here and give me something I ain't got before, then maybe we'll talk. But for now, the single thing is suiting me. So anyway, we're getting personal. So, right, they come in, they sit down, and usually, like I say, when the guides agree and everything's kosher and they're happy and excited, they get all the downloads that they need. Now, okay, so say she's wondering, not the guy that... we got to switch scenarios here, because we got the girlfriend with the boyfriend in there. He's a skeptic. Okay, now we got someone else, different client. Okay, we got a girl in there, and she's just suspicious, right, of all this stuff. But she's not letting me in on this at the beginning. She just says, "Yeah, I'm going to see what pops up," and it's about relationships. And I said, "Okay, we can just end it there, and we'll get into the reading, and we'll see what comes out." I said, and sometimes it's what you want to hear, and sometimes it's not. So we have to kind of, and I kind of, there was a bit of a speech I used to give, and I was like, I kind of stopped, and then I'd give it. I just instinctively give it when I felt it was needed. And that was the fact, like, the thing I preach now, which is never ever put my instinct above your own. I'm usually here for validation points, which other people are there for that as well. And, it's your own instinct. And if I say something that it's running through your head and you can't make it fit, it's not supposed to fit. It may just be an off current that can happen, but may not happen. It may be a wormhole that we just don't jump into. It may be a path that just doesn't appear. Like I say on my readings, there's three, there's the past, present, and the future is what I call it. But there's usually 1 to 3 lanes that we can pick. And the one down the middle is got the most pile of energy to hit you, is the way they've explained it to me. This is the most, the 75%er that you're going to go down this road. The other two can be 25, 35, but no more than 50% that we could go in this direction, because it's like any decision you make changes. You make a decision to eat the ice cream cone or you don't eat the ice cream cone. And that changes your day, believe it or not, right? The butterfly effect, just a little thing can change the way the rest of your day unfolds. So, yeah. So now we've got the single woman. She's, not single, she's with someone, and da-da-da. And like I said, depending on how much they're willing from spirit, because if you walk into, and I've had this too, you walk into a psychic office to get a reading, and you are a very personal, private person, I've had to not kick someone out, but I've literally had to say, you really have to be wanting a reading in order. And it's like, who twisted your arm to get in here? Because it was a weird energy I was reading. This woman didn't want, but she was curious. There was probably about 35% of her that was curious about her health and needing help there. But there was 70, or what's the regular? 25 and 75. The rest of her was on the road of, I don't want them knowing anything about me, da-da-da. You cannot come into a reading like that. You just can't. So I struggled. That was one of my first ones, which was the biggest energy mistake I made, because I did charge this woman, and I always felt guilty after. I was like, I never should have charged her. But that was my lesson at the time, right? It was one of my first days I did at a salon, and I was like, I should never have charged her, because she wasn't happy when she left. And I was frustrated because I was kind of trying to tell her, you're not open to energy. But how did you end up here? Because you're guided here, but you're not open to getting me poking around. So I explained that to her. And I said, because we're so private in our personality, I really can't get anything. And then I said, but I'll go through the reading and we'll go through the motions here, and then you can tell me how it did. And da, da, da. And we discussed it after, and she's like, it was just not a great. I was not happy. And again, I charged her, but it was so cheap back then. It didn't matter, but it did matter to me. My morals were screaming at me after. It's like, no, I shouldn't have. But that was a learning lesson. After that, I made damn sure, do you walk out of my office pleased? Not that you're going to come in and take advantage of me. You take all the stuff and say, no, it doesn't resonate, and then you walk away skipping. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like I want you to leave my office with more answers than you came in with. Not more questions, but more answers. And that's really what the guides are there for. So, yeah. A lot of what I was into was spying on boyfriends and stuff. And at that time, right, again, I was learning. And they would tell me things without telling me details. So they would let me in. So instead of saying, yeah, your boyfriend's cheating, they would say, okay, we may have trust issues here, and this may be rational thought, and we are using our instinct, and we are being guided. I would reinforce what their guides are doing for them, and that, again, it makes them less dependent on me and more dependent on self, or at least that's my goal anyway. When someone leaves my office after a reading, I don't want them thinking about the next time they want to come in my office. I want them thinking, you know what? I had that gut reaction and I should have listened. And you know what? Next time I'm going to listen because it's right. I'm right. I knew I was right. Da, da, da. This is the thing. And so when they get that reading, they should be able to utilize this less and less instead of more and more. When we get that addictive quality, that's someone feeding off, right? They're feeding off that energy. So we want you to become independent in that way of your instinct. And not only that, any legit psychic medium, clairvoyant, whatever, will ping off you. I call it pinging. And what it is as soon as you meet, and you don't necessarily physically have to hold hands or hug or whatever, but in my head, it's like as soon as you introduce yourself and you're in my energy field, in my office, you are going to be exposed to what I call a whitewash. It's just it's a freebie that you don't even know about it, but it just will happen. So what I call a whitewash is it's like a happy pill. It's an energy infusement that bumps you up energetically, and then your lessons come to bear in the physical. And I don't explain I use my guidance on who I need to explain that to and who I don't, and some know, and some don't. And when I do that, again, this is not something I do. It's just what happens during a reading. Because I'm what they call a beacon is what they've told me. And what is a beacon? Like, what is a lighthouse, right? It's a light that strobes in the fog where nobody else can see. And you use it to call you home. What's home? Home is using your own guidance system to run your own life, to see through your own fog, so that you don't have to keep going back to the same bloody lighthouse to figure out where, on the other side of the coast, okay, I'll go back there now. No, use your own guidance. So this is the thing I think that gets misinterpreted, or has in the past, is why I dip out of it, That's why I get scared. Not scared, that's where the fear comes from. It's like getting these people where they're addicted to you to a degree that they don't use their own guidance system. They use yours. And even though, I have a pretty good guidance system, the minute you walk out my door, you can decide to change your life radically from what reading I gave you, and you can just really invalidate everything that I told you. And I've had people do that deliberately. People I know, they're like, you know what? You told me this was going to happen this way, so I avoided. I went left there and right there. And we'd laugh about it. drink coffee, but at the same time, it's like, well, then you never know if those 3 roads are going to come in alignment, or maybe one road would, but not the one we thought, whatever. So yeah, so that's the office talk, and the fear, right? The based on fear, because I've ducked out of the field many times, put advertisements in, had spooky people coming in, and I think the problem there was my rates were just too low. I was underpinning myself. I didn't give my own, like I had no concept of what it's worth or what I'm worth, right? In that way. Because when you're learning and you're making mistakes, you're unsure of yourself. So you right, your rates are going to be in such a way. So a lot of what I'm learning now is, like I said, every jump up that I take, the fear factor goes down a little bit. Not that it completely releases. And again, or it could fluctuate, right? Certain areas can kind of increase a little bit. And then certain other areas, it's like, yeah, no, let's just go through that. Let's just jump in that pool and see what happens, you know? And a lot of time, like, you know, it just depends on the mode. I was going to say, a lot of times I do that, but there are modes I get into where I'm kind of meek and sheepish, and I just feel like kind of pulling back, and I just, you know, low energy, and I don't feel like being brave today, so I'm not going to be brave today. And I don't see that necessarily as fear. It's more of a compulsion to save energy saving mode, I would say, than fear. But it can be looked at in such a way because there's an avoidance factor there, right? I tend to hermit away when I need more energy, and then when I get full up again, then I start flinging myself all over the place. And I'm trying to find that balance between right and wrong there. So getting back to the fear factor, hopefully we're not too far gone here. I think I'm kind of keeping on track and whatnot. That's what I see as the devil, really, in life. If we had no fear, now, you know, we can get into weird territory with people with no empathy and all that. But if we're talking about life and taking chances and risks and stuff like that, like moral risks that are morally right and all of that stuff on the good side of things, when we're talking about those things, I feel like, you know, we're talking about the devil here. He's smacking our fingers, trying to keep us down from the highest positive goals of our life. And the more I evolve, the more that energy gets reinforced. And until it doesn't, that's what I'm going to keep thinking. The devil's in the details. He's in the details. He's in the fear. And he's in those little walls that we create between not only ourselves and others, but da-da-da. And it's hard because, you know, hard knocks, right? Life sucks, right? And then what do? You can't be positive and upbeat all the time. And even though some people think I am this, I absolutely am not. I have my low modes, and I really... the reason nobody knows that is because I isolate so heavily during those times. And I go right down into the darkness, and I, you know, whatever I need to do. Like, sometimes I just need to be... with my mouth, I need to be just quiet. And I just think. Or I don't think at all. Or I just, you know, mellow out with some... sad music, and I just indulge in it, and then I release from it, and then I come back out. You know, it's the recharge. Like, anybody who's an introvert, I think, understands that. It's like we can get in modes, and I think it's a constant struggle of trying to figure out who's going to take from you and who's not going to. And you don't go around life, you know, you don't go to the grocery store not saying hi to people because are you going to steal from me? No. Right? But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I really, from my perspective, I can't, because I've always been the loner. I've always been an independent lone wolf. That's me. Okay, I'm kind of fading the end off there quite heavily, if you noticed. Basically what happened was I over rambled in one session, so I'm splitting it into two 30-minute parts. I want to stick to my 30-minute scenario here because I just think it'll be more digestible. I can go on forever in a day, so I wanted. I mentioned in the end I'm not going to cut this up into two. Well, guess what? I was wrong. I'm cutting it up to two, but I will do a long fade in and overlap quite a bit of the content, like I don't know, a minute or two, which is a long time in radio world. So I'll fade out quite a bit of the ending, and I'll also fade that back into the next podcast. So what I'll be doing is I'll be trying, give me give me some slack here if I don't quite get it out. I'm jumping the gun is what I'm doing before I'm ready, but like I said, I'm trying to utilize my time a little more. So basically I got this podcast ready, so I want to start spitting it outward. So expect one once a week. That's my plan anyway. So it'll be within the Sunday to the Wednesday period, and that's when I'll be shooting it out. So I'm giving myself a good window of time in case I don't get it on Sunday, Monday. I got a few days grace to get it out there. So hopefully, again, you're enjoying yourself. Adventures of a Psychic Exposed. I'll be putting the title on the header today. So again, once a week. I don't know how long for the series will go. We may just go through the summer until I get sick and tired of talking, if that ever happens. And in the meantime, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and we will talk to you soon. In fact, we'll talk to you next week. So take care. Hope you had a good day, and we will talk to you later.